good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom with the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, Barbados continues to score record-breaking numbers in tourism. This time, it's in the cruise industry. Kareem Smith has the details.
The record number of tourists to Barbados is reflected in every sector of the industry. In fact, Minister of Tourism Richard Seeley revealed that the year 2017 has recorded the highest number of tourists to ever pass through this port. Today, the minister, along with tourism and port officials, had a special welcome for the couple who turned out to be the record breakers. Tom and Laura Thurman from Dayton, Ohio, shared the distinction of being the 812,864th tourists for the year. It's also their first time on the Star Pride cruise ship and visiting Barbados.
We can't wait to display all of the memorabilia that we've just gotten, but also share some of the wonderful rum. And
tell them they need to visit.
Tell them they need to visit.
Meanwhile, Minister Seeley expects port arrivals to reach approximately 825,000 by year end and is making bold predictions for 2018.
Certainly by winter 2019, or should I say calendar year 2019, we will go past 1 million cruise passengers in Barbados for the first time. And what I will add to that is, of course, that a significant component of that are the home porters.
The positive numbers for the port come as tourist arrivals across the board hit unprecedented levels. Minister Seeley says Barbadians are reaping the benefits economically.
These are not make-believe tourists. These are actual people. And therefore, we have to continue doing what we're doing. We are on course. We are on track. It is a fact that unemployment went from 10.2 to 9.7% because of what we are doing in tourism. That was credited, I think, by and large to the projects in the south of the island, Sandals and Seabreeze, etc. But I'm saying that we just need to continue on course. Yeah.
Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Port Incorporated, David John Marie, says the performance has been achieved against the odds.
We are doing it without the Carnival weekly ship.
Yes.
For the past 4 or 5 months, we haven't had that vessel here. And if that vessel came or was coming here, we would have had a lot more passengers, perhaps get close to 900,000 passengers. But we're at our capacity maximum limits here. We have to definitely increase or improve or add however we can to the capacity of the port.
In addition, officials say the creation of the 5th berth, which adds another 75 meters to the deepwater harbor, has been extremely critical. They add, however, that with increasing demand, even more infrastructural development will be needed for the port. Kareem Smith, CBC News.
Thanks, Kareem. Well, Tourism Minister Richard Seeley says negotiations for the sale of the Hilton Barbados are currently taking place, and he says several parties have displayed an interest in its sale.
The process by which the partner was selected was completely transparent. It's at an advanced stage, and we continue to advance those discussions, and we will be, of course, discussing publicly exactly where we're going in that regard.
Well, a motorcyclist is Barbados' latest road fatality. He is a 35-year-old Christchurch man. That's as much as police would release about the deceased up until news time. The accident that claimed his life involved 2 motorbikes and a van. It occurred around 5 this evening on the ABC highway just after the Bell Junction. Police Public Relations Officer Acting Inspector Roland Cobbler was among the lawmen on the scene as that section of the highway was cordoned off for them to carry out their investigations.
The police are at this time conducting investigations into the circumstances which resulted in a road fatality here along the Barrow section of the ABC highway between the Norman Nells and the Clyde Walker roundabout, involving a motor van and 2 motorcycles. One of the motorcyclists, a 35-year-old Christchurch man, he lost his life as a result of this collision. Our investigations are continuing.
Well, the police PRO says there have been 25 road accidents resulting in 28 deaths so far this year. And he's urging Barbadians to exercise more caution on the roads and in general as they seek to usher in a new year in the next few days. The president of the Barbados Agricultural Society is not pleased with the decision to close the Bridgetown port early. James Paul says the move has significant implications for importers of consumable goods who will now have to wait until next week to get their items.
There are goods that were coming out from the port that now have to wait until Tuesday. And they have to be paying plug charges. This is not the kind of country that we want to build. No, we need to run our civil service differently, in which we show people that we are serious about promoting business. This is what we need to take forward into 2018.
Mr. Paul made the comments during a press conference at his St. Michael West Central constituency office. He's also making a call to the private sector to look into opportunities to supply goods and services to the numerous cruise ships which dock in Barbados.
Have we reshaped the way in which we do business in this country to supply these ships with the goods and services that they require? Have we done this? And government can't do it. And this is the other problem that we have in this country. Every time you think you have it, the very people who should be doing it, which is our business community, cannot come up with the ideas. Of course, we need to have the facilitated environment. And this is where I call upon the unions in this country to have a more facilitating approach towards private sector investment and to encourage the members to have it.
Barbados' High Court has dismissed the lawsuit brought by Member of Parliament for Christchurch West, Dr. Maria Agard, challenging her dismissal from the opposition Barbados Labour Party 2 years ago. Dr. Agard, who now sits in Parliament as an independent, had asked the court to rule on the constitutionality of her dismissal on November 22, 2015, after she openly challenged Mia Mottley's leadership of the opposition party. She had also asked the court to rule on what her attorney claimed were flagrant breaches of the rules of natural justice, given that her accusers turned out to be the jury, judge, and everybody else associated with inflicting the punishment that was her dismissal. Now, in striking out her application today, Justice Olsen Allen said Dr. Agard was suing the wrong parties on the wrong form and in the wrong way. Well, Ms. Mottley, who was on hand at the court today, said it was an unfortunate situation, but she was glad that it was now behind them. However, Dr. Agard's attorney, Hal Gollop QC, said he would have to confer with his client to see whether she was willing to refile the case. The Barbados Investors and Policyholders Alliance has welcomed news from the judicial manager about the transfer of their British-American policies to Sagicor by February next year. In a press release to CBC News, BIPA expressed delight at the news released by the judicial manager, informing policyholders that the court approved the continuation of the original transfer on December 20th. BIPA says it looks forward to the honoring of the revised transfer completion date of February 28th next year. The judicial manager is expected to send out correspondence in the coming weeks, but BIPA says any policyholders whose contact details have changed should contact BICO as a matter of urgency. The treatment of children at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital requires more resources than the amount currently allocated for the pediatric department. This revelation from consultant pediatrician and neonatologist in the pediatric department, Dr. Clyde Cave.
The work we do is becoming more and more demanding, both in terms of human resources and technology, and it's more than our allocated piece of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital pie. So in order to provide the best for children, we do depend on individuals and corporate Barbados to assist us.
Dr. Cave made the point while speaking of the importance of corporate and individual donations to the QEH. He did so in the context of a presentation of a life scope monitor by concrete company Cmix. The $20,000 piece of equipment which monitors a patient's vital signs was donated in association with the Barbados Cancer Society. President Dr. Dorothy Cook Johnson says it will assist in the care of children facing the challenge of cancer.
Today's gift, a life scope, will be something which will stay with the child while it's ill and will monitor all its bodily functions, or most of them, and give an early warning should there be any deviation. So the medical condition of the child will be monitored with sensors through this machine, and it's a vital part of what is needed in the QEH.
And General Manager of Cmix, Jason Edwards, says the company is committed to raising awareness and playing its part generally in the fight against cancer.
Originally, we supported the Barbados Cancer Society's breastfeeding program. However, for the last 2 years, we turned our attention towards pediatric cancer, as we felt this is a cause we could help bring more attention to. Our commitment to exercising our corporate social responsibility has definitely strengthened over the years, as we realize that little effort can make a big difference in these children's lives.
We'll take a break here, but there's more news coming up, so stay tuned.
Simplify your life with the MyDigicel app. In just a few clicks, you can manage your account, top up and send credit, pay your bill, activate a plan, chat with an agent, and catch our special offers. It's a snap to use the app. That's right, and we did it just for you. It's MyDigicel.
Hold on. Oh, Louis here. Listen to me. You gotta play it safe around electricity. Watch out, little buddy, when you plug these in. Don't plug in too many, my friend. Ho, 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 can't hold anymore. Now here's an empty socket. It's such a scary sight. Nothing goes in here but another pretty light. Yeah. Watch out, little buddy. Listen to me. You gotta play it safe around electricity. Play it safe around a tree. Watch out. Be careful what you do.
A message from the Barbados Light and Power Company.
Dance with me into the new year. This Old Year's night, join us at Kensington Oval for Q-Dance. Doors open at 8 p.m. Early bird tickets, $30. General tickets, $35. At the door, $40. DJ King, Scorpion, and many more party favors. Dance with me at Q-Dance this Old Year's night.
You can dance, every dance with the guys who give you the eye, let them hold you tight.
Christmas is truly special when we share gifts with those we love the most. We at 98.1 The One love our loyal listeners, and we wish to share our gifts with you. So make a wish from our gift list and email your wish to us at christmaswish@cbc.pb. Every day we'll choose a name. If your name is called, you'll have 20 minutes to contact us and to make your 98.1 The One wish come true. We thank our valued partners, Course Unicoma Barbados, Peter Jewelers, Infinity Hotel, Italian Jewelers, Sorrel Pine Hill Dairy, Digicel Barbados. Christmas is special to us and to our sponsors too. So this Christmas, make a wish and we'll make it come true. Merry Christmas to each and every home that locks on to 98.1 The One.
Some Barbadians are still keeping the tradition of decorating their homes with lights at Christmas alive, and many of them are used to help outdoor displays stand out. Rianne Phillips tells us more.
It's a tale of comparison and contrast along Lodge Road, Christchurch. On one side, you'll find the traditional lights by Doreen Eiffel, while on the other, there is the modern LED lights by her neighbor, Patrick Morrison. He says creating this effect is quite technical.
You have to cut them certain points of them, you cut, and then if you get the correct length you want, then you can sort about the wires to them and link them back. They go through receivers, you sync them to colors and all that stuff and thing, and go back to the computer. All those sort of things to do. Yeah, it was all hard work done like around 2 o'clock and thing at night, so we out here working, yeah, to get it done.
It's a labor of love for Miss Eiffel, who does not mind shouldering extra costs in her electricity bill.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love the lights. I love church. And I love this is my pride and joy.
All right, and you don't mind the light bill after?
No. You can't want it 2 years, can you? Can you want it 2 years? I don't want it 2 years. I like it. I do it.
These two houses have been drawing much attention in Durance.
This area hasn't got as much as we used to, because we used to have like things going around and, you know, on the pillars and stuff like that, but they all gone bad, so I couldn't get any more.
Over in Freehill, St. Michael, the Reed family has made all their decorations from recycled materials. They include the snow angel made from plastic bottles, along with a Santa Claus made from tires.
So this theme, we have it divided into two. We have the Winter Wonderland to our left, and we have the Calypso to our right. If it's something that we are doing in terms of using recyclables, then we start in the summer and we put them down for when it's full assembly for December. Normally it's around the first 2 Saturdays within the month that we have our show.
These families will continue to light up their homes until early next month. Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
Rianne, thanks. If alternative energy is to take off in Barbados, it needs to be marketed to the average Barbadian. This is according to Chief Energy Conservation Officer in the Division of Energy and Telecommunications, William Hines. He made the comments at the solar house in Queen's Park, which has been transformed into a back-in-time house. Mr. Hines believes Barbadians can get back to renewable energy on an even larger scale as long as they view it within the context of ordinary living.
It should be done within the context of how we treat ourselves in our average day. So the solar energy is not supposed to be there, sterile on its own, but it has to be an integral part of how you see yourself and how you see yourselves living.
According to Mr. Hines, the average Barbadian used significantly more renewable energy in years gone by.
The simple reason is that there was no fossil fuels and there was no fossil fuel electricity. So if you had to do your cooling, you had to use an ice chest, and if you had to do your cooling of your house, then you had to build your house and design it in a way that it will stay cool. So many of the features of the solar house, the jealousy windows, the high ceilings, the features of having the open plan so the air flows right through, are actually parts of the traditional design as much as it should be part of the design of today.
And joining us live now to discuss the issues pertaining to renewable energy is the president of the Barbados Renewable Energy Association, Aidan Rogers. Aidan, season's greetings to you, and thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Season's greetings, Lisa, and Barbados.
Thanks. So let's use Mr. Hines' comments as our jump-off point. He talked about the need to market the industry directly to Barbadians, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that's what was happening all along.
Well, William's comments are really accurate. However, they need to be contextualized somewhat, because he pretty much spoke in the traditional vein of Barbados' history of renewable energy use and really how our households really would have evolved to the modern format they have. However, in terms of marketing to the general public, you need to market something that is marketable. Mm-hmm. And it has not been till quite recently, specifically for renewable energy investment, that some key measures were put in place that have now really made investment opportunities quite possible. Specifically, under the new legislation, we have an extension of the licensing period for persons who invest in renewable energy systems now being extended from 10 to 20 years. Mm-hmm. That offers some hope for persons securing better financing packages from financial institutions, banks, credit unions, because there's a possibility now that the repayment period for your loans can be extended, which would make your returns more accessible in the immediate framework. Right. There's also the fact that we now have a Barbados energy policy in place that clearly sets out the actual parameters for investment. You now have a target in mind as to what are the national targets for investing in the various technologies for the next 20 years. Mm-hmm. And finally, we now have a regime in place where we have a fixed tariff measure in place so that persons can have now a fixed return in terms of their investment for going into this sector. So these are really some of the key initiatives that we really see would have come in place quite recently.
Now, I know that when oil prices had spiked a couple of years ago, we saw a rush for people getting involved in renewable energies, getting the photovoltaic systems for their houses and that type of thing. Once the regulations went in place, that fell off. Mm-hmm. Do you anticipate a similar uptake of these types of systems, or do you expect like a rush into the market? How do you see this playing out?
Well, I think the future going forward is guardedly optimistic because, as I said earlier, there were some key measures put in place. Another one is the fact that the new licensing regime, we've now really had some of what we had considered 2.5 years to be some onerous licensing fees. Those have recently been removed by the Cabinet of Barbados. So we anticipate that with all of those combination of events coming into being now, there should be significant uptake because the economics of your investment are no longer going to be determined by where the global oil price is.
Right.
You simply secure your financing, and the fixed tariff that the FTC has assured you now would allow you to have a secure and determinable rate of return without seeing any connection to the oil price or the fuel clause adjustment in Barbados.
Does any of this mean, though, that the price for the inputs that you need will come down? Because people have said that it's an expensive venture going in.
Well, it is an expensive venture going forward. One of the challenges we have with that is that we need more persons trained in the installation so that there's greater competition. What we've seen with the fall off in the last 2 years is that there's actually been a contraction in the number of installers. But we believe that if we were to train all our electricians, at least with the design and installation of basic photovoltaic systems, that could significantly drive the installation costs down, as we started to see gradually. So as I said, the outlook for 2018 is guardedly optimistic, but with these new changes and the fact that the government recently released its new incentive manual, we think that these could add much needed impetus going forward to the renewable energy sector.
What's happening with the electric vehicle part of this sector, though?
Well, we're still very concerned about that because although we have the national energy policy in place, there's still some questions as to what is really happening on the electric vehicle front. We have been getting some mixed signals from government in that regard, in that there seems still to be a fairly anti-electric vehicle fiscal policy in place. We have a situation where although we have a company now that exclusively brings in electric vehicles being granted garage license status, they're still not accessing all the incentives current garages do access. So there's some concern there.
So something to work on going into 2018.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That was Aidan Rogers, the president of the Barbados Renewable Energy Association, talking to us about some of the developments in the sector and the way forward into 2018. Also to come, Guyana defends an agreement made with ExxonMobil.
This is a serious problem in Trinidad. What is diabetes?
There are two forms. Diabetes type 1, when your body stops producing insulin. Type 2 diabetes is a result of poor lifestyle. Type 2 diabetes is associated with being overweight, having high blood pressure, at higher risk for heart disease. It is a very serious problem.
Do not wait until it's too late. Let Omega XL be the first step in the right direction.
Get your Omega XL today. Live long, stay strong with Omega XL.
Here in Barbados, high rates of chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis, and the majority of other STI cases are occurring among teenagers and young adults. Many persons with an STI may not have any symptoms, and this may result in it being undiagnosed. Chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis are all caused by bacteria and can be cured with antibiotics. Reduce your risk by being faithful to one partner or limiting the number of partners you're intimate with, knowing your partner's sexual history, and using a latex condom every time you have vaginal, oral, or anal sex. Get tested for STIs at your doctor's office or free at any polyclinic. And staff of the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation.
The Guyana government has defended the new agreement signed with the U.S.-based oil giant ExxonMobil after making the document available for public scrutiny yesterday.
The government last month had promised to release the contract with oil giant ExxonMobil.
The contract was officially released to the public at a special session at the Ministry of the Presidency Thursday morning by the government, followed by a media briefing by ExxonMobil. The contract, as explained by Exxon Country Manager Rod Henson, is based on the government's 2012 contract with limited amendments.
So we agreed to a number of higher or new payments in return for time. Firstly, there was an $18 million signature bonus when the agreement was fully executed. It's part of the agreement, it's Article 33, which we'll see later. There were annual rental fees, which had been at $240,000, and they were substantially increased to $1 million per year. Likewise, the annual payment to the government for the training and capacity building of Guyanese personnel was increased to $300,000 from $45,000. Also, a new commitment was entered into whereby we annually fund $300,000 for social and environmental programs in Guyana.
Henson further explained that the petroleum agreement in 2016 granted ExxonMobil and its partners a 10-year period, which will run until 2026. That contract is divided into 3 different terms, an initial 4-year term followed by 2 3-year renewal periods. Additionally, when it comes to revenue, the contract stipulates that Guyana receives payment for its crude from day 1 of production. Exxon is eyeing March 2020 to begin its operation on the Laser project.
If you assume an IMF forecast for crude price starting at $50 a barrel, it brings Guyana revenue over $1.5 billion for the first 5 years, over $7 billion over the life of the project. This is not a guarantee. I have to say there's assumptions on price, there's assumptions on exact flow profile, costs in the future and whatnot, but this is our transparent, actual view of what this is going to turn out to be.
The contract, which was fully executed in October 2016, provided for a hike in a number of fees. The annual rental fee, which was $240,000 is now $1 million.
Meanwhile, Guyana will host the Inter-American Congress on Tourism next year. This is according to the Organization of American States, or OAS. It says a cooperation agreement has been signed with the Guyana government to host the 24th Inter-American Congress of Ministers from March 21st to 22nd. Guyana's permanent representative to the OAS, Riyad Insanali, and OAS Secretary General Luis Almagro signed the agreement yesterday with the hemispheric body, indicating that the event will be the first ever high-level OAS meeting in Guyana. The Panama City-based Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute, or the STRI, says the Caribbean's coastal environment is stressed out. According to the Institute, there is hope based on data from 25-year monitoring programs, with 40% of the world's 2.5 billion people living in coastal cities and towns. The Institute has just released 25 years of data about the health of the Caribbean's coasts from the Caribbean Coastal Marine Productivity Program. Now, the study provides new insights into the influence of both local and global stressors in the basin, and some hope that the observed changes can be reversed by local environmental management. Well, Sean Green is standing by, so that means sports news is just ahead. But before we get to that, here's a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.
This tip of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
If you observe someone loitering on your premises, call the police immediately and give a description of the person. This crime prevention tip is brought to you in association with the Royal Barbados Police Force.